Hello NFL fans and welcome back to the Wall of NFL. In this video today, I'm going to be giving you one thing to look out for in each of our upcoming NFL games this weekend. Carson Wentz went down injured in week 2 thanks to an Aaron Donald tackle from behind that sprained both of his ankles. I think that Carson Wentz really holds onto the ball too long, and it's kind of his fault for getting injured at this point. It's happened so many times. But I think without him at quarterback, the Colts are really going to struggle against the Titans because it seems as though the Titans have really found their footing and they will offensively be a lot better than they have been in the first game in week 1 against the Cardinals and in the first half against the Seahawks. In the second half against the Seahawks, Derrick Henry went mental, and I think that if he's able to do that again, the Colts don't have a chance in week 3. The Falcons and the Giants isn't going to be a great game to watch, I think, this weekend. I think this game is really going to come down to who isn't as bad as the other. The Falcons have only had 2 good quarters offensively and no good quarters defensively. And the Giants, whilst they nearly won a game, they shot themselves in the foot really, and it meant that they're 0-2 as well. I think whichever team gets the win this weekend, their season stays alive a little, but 0-3 is going to be a disaster, I think. And whichever coach loses, I think is going to be on the hot seat. Specifically Joe Judge, because he's been at his team a lot longer. Arthur Smith won't really necessarily be on the hot seat because it's only his 3rd game in charge. But yeah, I think if you're going to watch this game at all, maybe watch out for who doesn't suck as bad as the other. The Chargers and Chiefs is definitely going to be a really close game this weekend. They always have a tough fought battle and it always comes down to the wire between these two teams. They're very evenly matched as well, with both teams having a really top defensive lineman and a secondary player that's really top player as well. Chargers have Derwin James and Joey Bosa, and the Chiefs have Chris Jones and Tyrann Mathieu as well. Both teams have fantastic weapons to throw to, but the only difference is Justin Herbert isn't quite as good as Patrick Mahomes yet, so I think the Chiefs might edge out this one. I also think the Chiefs are probably going to win because there's no way that they're going to go 1-2. So I think that the fact that the Chiefs lost last week is bad news for the Chargers because the Chiefs will be desperate to win this one. I think the Bengals and the Steelers is going to be a really low scoring game. The Steelers' offense has been really tragic so far and they've really struggled to move the ball down the field. Now that Big Ben's injured with a pectoral muscle as well, the offense might even get even worse. So I think that it's going to be just a low scoring game, especially from the Steelers' offensive side. Even if Dwayne Haskins comes in, he is a little bit more dynamic, so maybe it'll actually improve the offense a little bit. But I think that it's not quite good enough because that offensive line needs a lot of work. The Bengals as well, they have a great offense, but the Steelers will really shut them down. They have one of the top 3 defenses in the league, I think. And even if TJ Watt doesn't play, despite that giving a little bit of a lifeline to the Bengals, who might have a little bit more time to throw, the Steelers' defense is just overall a lot better than the Bengals' offense. So I'm expecting this to be in the 10s really this game. The Bears and the Browns game is going to come down to whether the Bears' defensive line will be able to stop the running game of the Cleveland Browns. If the running game of the Cleveland Browns halters at any point, Baker Mayfield will have to throw the ball. And when defenses are expecting Baker to throw the ball, he stinks. And his accuracy shoots right down. And it kind of shows when he's only had 1 touchdown this year and 2 interceptions. Pretty much that whole team's offense is based around the run. So they'll struggle without it if the Bears are able to shut that down. Justin Fields has got his first start of the year as well as a rookie, so that might be a bit of a boost to the Browns, but I actually think the Bears will do a little bit better offensively with Justin Fields. He's a lot better running the ball, and it gives a little bit of an extra boost rather than having Andy Dalton, who's quite... he doesn't move around much in the pocket. So I think that the Bears offense might get a little boost from Justin Fields starting as well. The Ravens should easily dispatch of the Lions this weekend as their rushing attack is unstoppable and they've already shown that they can beat the best teams in the league with that running attack. Even if they are down 11 points, in the fourth quarter against the Chiefs. They still have shown that they can come back and win. The Lions as well have been conceding an average of 38 points a game, which is really bad, and I think the Ravens should be able to run away with this one. The only glimmer of hope that the Lions have, I think, is that Jared Goff in quarters here and there so far this year has actually played really well, making some fantastic throws, like last week when he threw it to TJ Hockenson in the back of the end zone. But again, the Lions only seem to do it in a quarter here and a quarter there, so the Ravens should find this game pretty easy. I think the Patriots and the Saints game this weekend is going to be a really low scoring one. Both teams lack a lot offensively, but both teams also have a very solid defense. I think the Saints are missing a few players from injury though, like Marshawn Lattimore, who was out last week. If he's able to come back, and some of the other players like Gardner Johnson, if they're able to show their faces, the Saints do have a good chance, I think, because Mac Jones on the other side hasn't really impressed so much so far. But both teams, again, are lacking a lot offensively, with very little options at wide receiver. So I think that it'll come down to how well each team's running games are going to be able to fare against some top defenses, and which one's going to be able to just edge out with a little bit more points. I think the Cardinals are going to absolutely blow out the Jaguars this weekend. The Jaguars have conceded a lot of points and also not scored very many either in any of their games. So with the Cardinals, who have a top defensive line with Chandler Jones and JJ Watt, and also they have K1, Kyler Murray at quarterback, who has just been outstanding so far this year and looks like he could be on track to win the MVP. I know it's after just 2 weeks, but he has been outstanding. So I think really that the Jaguars won't be able to stop him, and he's going to rack up points after points after points. The Jaguars as well, they really don't have a good offensive line and don't have anything to support Trevor Lawrence. So they're going to really struggle in this one. So expect a big game from the Cardinals. This game between the Washington football team and the Buffalo Bills is going to be a really defensive game. The Bills have conceded the least amount of yards so far compared to any other defense. And the football team have so many first-round picks in their defense, like Montez Sweat and Chase Young. And I think that Josh Allen is going to struggle yet again. Josh Allen last week only had 170 yards or so against the Dolphins, and they scored 35 points, which just shows that they're scoring points even without Josh Allen. So whilst the Bills are a very good team, Josh Allen kind of looks a shade of himself from last year. Last year, he could have got some MVP votes if it wasn't for Rodgers having such an amazing year. But this year, he's very lackluster in comparison. So I think this game is going to be around the 20s, if not the 10s. And I think there's actually going to be quite a few low-scoring games this weekend. It doesn't get any easier for the Jets and Zach Wilson this week as they come up against the undefeated Broncos. The Broncos have only played the Jaguars and the Giants so far, who haven't been a very good teams so far at all this year, but they're 2-0 and they've beaten them quite convincingly. Teddy Bridgewater has been one of the best quarterbacks so far in this season, with I think around 300 yards per game, and he's got about 78% completion percentage, and he's got no interceptions as well. So I've got to say, he has had a great start to his year. And the Broncos are a Super Bowl ready team, and now that Teddy Bridgewater is playing as good as he ever has been, the Broncos have a really good chance to get to the playoffs. And now that the Jets come in, I think they are going to completely walk over the Jets, especially as they're at home as well. The Dolphins at the Raiders is going to be a really good game, I think. Despite Tua Tagovailoa being out injured and Jacoby Brissett coming in for the Dolphins on offense, I think that their offense could still get moving against the Raiders, because the Ravens, I wouldn't exactly call them a top defense. I would say, though, that the Raiders offensively have looked amazing with Derek Carr at the helm. Everyone was saying before that he was only had Darren Waller to throw to, and he was just looking to him every play. But now, last week, he's proven all the haters wrong. Darren Waller was almost locked down completely against the Steelers, and he was still finding his other wide receivers out there, like Henry Ruggs, and Derek Carr looks like he's the best quarterback in the league so far this season, alongside Kyler Murray. He has over 800 yards passing and has a whole bunch of touchdowns as well, and he's looked very impressive. And I think he could do the same against the Dolphins because despite the Dolphins having such a good defense, so did the Ravens and the Steelers, and Derek Carr still looked amazing against them. So I think this one will come down to whether the Dolphins are able to keep up with the Raiders offensively, which I'm a little bit hesitant of, seeing as Jacoby Brissett's now in at quarterback. The Seahawks will be looking to get their revenge after losing quite badly in the fourth quarter and overtime to the Titans last week. The Vikings haven't been great at stopping teams so far, and I don't think that'll start this week against the Seahawks. The Seahawks have a really explosive offense with Russell Wilson throwing incredible deep passes. And I think that this is the game that DK Metcalf is really going to come out because he's been in hiding a little bit the last couple of weeks. I think that the Vikings, whilst they have had really close games so far and Kirk Cousins has looked pretty decent, I think it'll come down to whoever's the most clutch on their offense in this game. And I think that Russell Wilson is just the better, more clutch quarterback than Kirk Cousins, who really struggles when it comes down to big primetime performances. So I think that's what's going to edge the Seahawks over the Vikings, and the Vikings are going to have a really bad 0-3 start. I think this Rams versus Buccaneers game this weekend is going to be the prequel to the NFC Championship game. These are the two of the four best teams in the league, I think, and they are very well matched, both offensively and defensively as well. They both have veteran quarterbacks who have plenty of weapons to throw to and hand off to, and also defensively, the Rams have Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald to pin all their hopes on two of the best defensive players in the sport. And also, the Buccaneers, they have a fantastic defensive line. And I guess the secondary is really good as well, but maybe not as deep as they probably would hope. I think both teams are going to try and assert their dominance over the other because they know that this could be the NFC Championship game later on. I think the biggest impact of this game will be Aaron Donald and whether he's able to get to Tom Brady or how many times he's able to get to Tom Brady. Because Jalen Ramsey, he can lock down one receiver, but he can't lock down every receiver. So Tom Brady will be productive. It's just whether Aaron Donald can get to him before he gets it to his receivers. I actually don't really know how the Packers versus the 49ers is going to go. Both coaches know each other really well. Matt LaFleur and Kyle Shanahan have worked together before, and both teams are fairly similar in a ways. They both have really had a lot of success going to the postseason and not really gotten it done when it really matters. I know that the Packers have an elite quarterback with Aaron Rodgers, but he's kind of getting kicked out of the door slowly. And on the other side, Jimmy Garoppolo is experiencing the same thing. Whilst Jimmy is not as good as Aaron Rodgers, and I think that may be the difference maker on this team, or in this game, sorry. But Aaron Rodgers, his heart might not be in it for the Packers, so I really don't know which way this game's going to swing. The difference maker could be defensively which one performs the best, in which case I think the 49ers are going to do so. Nick Bosa is going to cause a lot of problems for the Packers, and yeah, I think it's really going to come down to whether Aaron Rodgers shows up in this one or not. I thought this game would be a lot easier for the Cowboys before the season started than I do right now. The Eagles have really come a long way from last season. And I think if Jalen Hurts is able to replicate in this game against the Cowboys what he did against the Falcons in week 1, I'm sure this is going to be a really closely fought game. The Cowboys might go back to Dak Prescott, I think, because it's not really often that the Cowboys are sensible and run the ball like they did against the Chargers. So I think they're going to go back to Dak Prescott and lean quite heavily on him. And I think it depends on whether Micah Parsons and Leighton Van Der Esch and the rest of the Cowboys defense are going to be able to stop Jalen Hurts as he runs the ball a lot on the ground. He's not the most accurate and best thrower of the ball, so I think they've really got to focus on the ground game of the Eagles and whether they're able to really get through and slice through that Cowboys defense. Thank you guys so much for watching this video on everything that I thought you should look out for this weekend in NFL's Week 3 action. Please comment down below what else you're looking out for and what you think I should look out for as well. And please also follow Wall of NFL on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And also head to wallofnfl.com for any exclusive articles that go up there and every bit of breaking news as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the Week 3 recap video.